One of the most sensitive subjects in modern times has to be the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that followed Jewish settlement into Palestine after World War II. In America, we hear only one side of this tragic story, that Palestinians are brutal terrorists willing to sacrifice themselves in the name of Allah. As we learned during our time in Israel a few years ago, nothing could be further from the truth. Still, the story continues. Fortunately, there are a few brave souls who are trying to correct this disinformation. Miko Peled is one of them. Author of The General's Son, Miko is a born Israeli, and like his father, who served in the Israeli military, became aware of the truth of the Israeli brutality against the Palestinians and has devoted his life to correcting this injustice. And what are you noticing now when you go there and you're doing the work you're doing? What kind of reaction are you getting? Has it changed at all over the last few to several years?
Yeah, it was getting a lot worse, and people are really depressed because they see no end in sight. To try to get people to look at the future and envision some kind of an optimistic outcome to this conflict is very difficult. Activists are depressed. People at the very top are depressed. I spoke to people. I spoke to a lot of people when I was there. People who are in leadership positions, all the way to activists, to people who live in small villages who are, being attacked by the settlers. People see no good end in sight, and it's very hard to get people to raise their head up and say, yeah, we can work towards something better, because Israel is so powerful. Yeah. And the settlers are so violent. And American support for Israel, and not only American, Western European support for Israel is so absolute. That they don't see how anything good could possibly ever happen. Excuse me, and it's hard to blame them. It's really hard to blame them. When you're there, it's very depressing. Things are progressively getting worse and worse and worse for Palestinians, and for anybody who cares to see, to see peace. But that, of course, doesn't mean that we stop doing what we do. It doesn't mean that we stop challenging them. When I'm there, I go to protests every weekend. I challenge the Israeli authorities as much as I can, whether it's at the airport when they're abusing somebody, or at the checkpoints, or the protest. And I'm not alone. I mean, there's a whole group of activists, Israeli activists, who are out there doing really good things. It's a small group, but it's still a group. There's the BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions network, which exists outside, which is also led by Palestinians, and many Israelis and Jews participate in that. JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, just signed off on the BDS, which is really important. They just came out with an excellent statement supporting it. So these are the really positive forces that are working to create change. It's just that the force on the other side is so brutal.
This is a heart-wrenching story that is not to be missed. For the full interview, go to cmn.tv.